will literally show you the career that you've been wanting to see.
Yes, it is time to experience the nooks and crannies of Korea as if with your own 2 feet on.
K-Patch.
With Jennifer Jin.
It is a Thursday. Jen's in the studio with her beautiful videos of Korea for this segment. How are we doing, Jen Jin?
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Did you avoid getting flooded or drowned in the rain? Is it still coming down hard?
Luckily, I have survived going through the Umeon mountain tunnel.
Oh.
Do you remember, by the way, a couple of years back then, there was this huge flood.
The landslide
and
from the
the
mountain.
landslide happened there.
I was actually broadcasting at the educational station, which was located on Umeon Mountain at the time. And just as I was leaving, the landslide happened and the studio blacked out. And then I was driving out the car park, actually, and all the landslide came bashing past my car.
Oh, my God.
It was very interesting.
So you were actually on that side?
Yeah, and then I had a recording here.
Yeah.
And it took me, I think, 4 hours when it usually takes like maybe 14 minutes. Yeah. So I don't hope that happens again. And they have really done lots of like construction work on the mountain. They've got lots of outlets and drains. So we should be safe.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have survived, Peter.
Yes.
And just so you know, for those of you who don't know, the Umeon Mountain, guys, it is located in the almost like the center of the southern Seoul. It is the place where a lot of people commute to their workplaces.
Yeah.
So that was a huge shock to see the scene, the mountain just literally just
slide down a lot of mud and trees
in the
and
main
dirt,
street.
Right? Yeah, on this number Surando. And I think there was a good few people that lost their lives, unfortunately, right? We are talking about rain for the hashtag, actually. We've got so many people on board on VLive from so many various countries. Larik Howlin is on board for the first time. Lavinia's there from Brazil. We got Army.
Hello, Brazil.
JK from Egypt.
Oh, wow.
Catty from Mexico. SP from India. Tell us about rainy seasons in your country as well. What does that bring to mind, the hashtag Changma for you then, Jen?
Yeah. So, Changma is something that we experience every year, right?
Yes.
And so it's kind of a common thing for me as a Korean. And it is the time when you feel that, summer has fully arrived. And after this Changma, we know what's going to come up.
Yeah, the heat,
it's going to
right?
get really, really hot, guys. So, yeah, I have a lot of good memories, actually. Like during the rainy season, luckily to speak, I was living in the city all the time. So I did not really have serious worry about the flood, to be honest.
Okay, that's
so
good.
Usually I got the time to go to like food places like kalguksu. Because I love having kalguksu on rainy days.
Is that common for a rainy day?
I think I see quite a lot of Koreans having like jeon, like a pancake thing with the noodles.
That's the tradition. We talked about bindaedeok in the opening. That gets the most increase in sales on rainy days, apparently. But kalguksu as well can be...
Yeah, definitely. Kalguksu and pajeon, the green onion jeon.
Oh, those often are sold at the same restaurant, aren't they?
Usually it is together with a set that you enjoy it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
To be honest, I hate the rainy season because it's too humid, right?
Yes. Muggy, isn't it?
It's still kind of humid in Korea even after the rainy season. It's not like a LA dry heat, but it's so humid during rainy season that your clothes, drying them is so hard after putting them in the washing machine, right?
And your hair, like this forehead
frizzy,
part,
right?
It's always like 죽어. It's dead.
Yeah, there's no volume or anything, right? Yeah, so it's an interesting time. Raul says there's no rainy season here in Argentina, but the season is December, January, summertime here. Ah, I see. Okay, because you're in the southern hemisphere.
Oh.
Interesting stuff. All right, we are going to be getting into your segment, K-Patch, and I've previewed we're going to Paju. We're going to like a kind of arty area, really famous for maybe having artists there.
Yeah.
Where is this? What's the name of the village?
So it is Paju heyri Art Village. In Korean, it is heyri 예술마을. 예술 means art. So you can see that they are trying to put a lot of focus and attention on art. As you say,
heyri.
it's a very artsy area with a lot of museums, studios, where you not only just see it, but you can experience making cups or
Oh.
plates or paint. So many things to experience.
This, I feel, I don't know if it's true, but I feel it was like hotter and more popular maybe 10 years ago. I went a lot then. Maybe just because I've had kids, I've just forgotten about the place. But is it still like buzzing there and lots of people?
You know, actually, I have the opposite feeling with that aspect because I went there like a decade ago, as
Okay.
you did, and I felt like it's much more. Yeah, maybe there were less people, but the size, the stores, the activities got much more dynamic. I
Oh,
was so
interesting.
astonished
Does
this
it-
time.
Does it not feel like over commercialized though? It still feels like it's got that kind of arty heart to it.
Definitely, yeah.
Oh, good. 'Cause
Maybe I was too positive, but
No, that's good because, yeah, when I went, it wasn't like rural or anything, but you're right. There was lots of little places, little cafes, little
Yeah.
art galleries, little art studios. There was randomly at that time, I don't know if it's still there. I wonder if you saw it this time, the Scandinavian furniture shop, right? You know, that's now officially here. But at that time, it wasn't officially here. But there was one Korean vendor that would buy a load of their stuff
Wow.
and then sell it there for more expensive prices. But that was so random to me. I was like, why is that in heyri? I wonder
I
if it still
understand your
exists.
point.
So in your
Yeah.
first video, what are we going to take a look at?
Yeah. So in fact, you know, I happen to experience quite a lot of things. So we'll be going through this village again next week as well
Oh,
because I
nice.
have had the chance to paint the cup and other experiences. So this time I'm just going to show you. I'm going to focus on the main part where you can experience seeing the modern history of Korea and also these very rare, uncommon museums that I got
Oh.
to see it.
Okie dokie, let's check it out. Here's Paju's heyri Art Village.
Here we go. So this is the entrance area. In fact, there are many doors, I would say. And near where I park, I happen to find this Museum of Mineral and Gemstone of the World.
That's random and
Very,
interesting.
very random. And I didn't really like the idea of going there, to be honest, because my father really wanted it.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, why not? Let's check it out. And then I met this collector and the founder of this museum
Wow.
who actually collected all of this by himself.
Oh, it's just a personal collection.
Personally.
Wow.
And this is known to be the biggest gemstone museum in Korea at the moment.
Amazing.
And you're seeing those fossils from more than 2.5 million years ago.
What? Wow.
And you can see how gemstones and the minerals are used in oriental medicine.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And look at these stones. These are not carved. It's just the original shape
Naturally occurring in the rocks,
from
right?
the land itself.
They look absolutely
It's
otherworldly.
so beautiful.
Yeah, it looks
isn't
like you're
it?
on a different planet or something.
Look
I know
at this.
sometimes if you break open a rock, if you're lucky, you'll see some shiny stuff
Yeah.
inside. Wow.
And this collector, the professor actually, he was explaining how it is used in Korean Oriental medicine.
Like grinding it down. Wow.
Guess so. And look at this. This is the Coca-Cola Museum. And
That's
unfortunately,
random.
I couldn't actually enter the museum part. This is the entrance area where
Just
you
the
can
gift
see
shop.
a lot of the Coca-Cola related products. But I wanted to show you that there's not only just Korean focused museums, but you might find it a little bit random, but there are just so many different themes of museums like Coca-Cola.
That's what makes Paju Heyri Art Village Paju Heyri Art Village is random, right? There's just loads of random things in there, all brought together. But as you can see, it's not like a cola museum in the fact that you're just buying the drink. There's lots of art-related pop-up posters and different coloured bottles as well, like that. That's really cool. There was for a time in Ilsan, a cola-themed restaurant which had all this kind of memorabilia. I guess they got it from there. Yeah, I mean, the food wasn't cola, but the drinks were always cola.
Oh, it's just Coca-Cola.
It went bankrupt because I think we're quite health conscious here nowadays, right? I, to be honest, rarely drink a cola unless it's the zero, variety.
You like zero version.
So that gift shop, you can just walk in for free. You don't need to pay. What about the gemstone
for the museum? The fee was 5,000 won for each person.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, and I don't know. For me, it was something that really broke or changed my prejudice about gemstones and minerals.
Are you not a gemstone fan? Don't lots of people like diamonds and rubies and things like this?
In fact, as the Professor Kwon there, the collector said, a lot of the Koreans think of minerals and gemstones something very far from our daily lives.
Okay.
And I really got the chance to learn a lot from him. He was explaining how it is used in fashion and medicines, in the industries.
Oh, many different walks of life.
I would highly recommend you guys to visit this museum. Really.
Is he always there to like guide you around, or were you just lucky?
I'm not sure about that part, but he was actually living in that building.
Oh, wow.
In the, I think, second floor or something. So.
Yeah, because that art village, I think it started to get famous because it was just actually a few artists came together and built their own homes and studios, right, in a really cool way. These buildings, these kind of arty buildings, you can see now in many different parts, but originally I think Heyri was famous for having not Korean-looking buildings. You're not going to find traditional old hanoks here and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, that's a good part. In fact, the Paju, it's very close to North Korea, guys.
Yes.
On my way to this village, I happened to see North Korea because in some part of the Imjingang River, you can see North Korea, and there's this 통일 전망대 where you can see North Korea with this microscope thing.
With the telescopes.
A telescope, right?
You just look
exactly.
across the way, right? I think even with the naked eye, you can see.
Yeah.
Right? Wow.
And then it was so interesting. Very close to that part, you can see this beautiful international global vibe art village. And in fact, I actually liked it because it's the place where not only young people enjoy it, but as you're about to see, there's this place where they show you the modern history of Korea where my parents' age would really appreciate it.
It's very meaningful, isn't it? I was watching the first episode of Money Heist, 정예집. I don't know if you've heard the hype around that. It's based on a joint economic area between North Korea and South Korea, pretending that they're getting unified. And it's around Paju and that area, it's just north of there in the drama. So if we ever did reunite, Paju would be closest or one of the closest places to North Korea. I heard that the land prices went up when the relations were good with like Moon Jae-in, Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un meeting. Maybe not so high these days. We're back for part 2 of the show. It is K-Patch with Jen in the studio showing us the Heyri Art Village over in Paju. Very close to North Korea, as you said. Raul saying maybe you can see the DMZ too. You definitely see the DMZ if you see North Korea because it's the land in between, right? You have to look over the DMZ to look into North Korea.
Yeah.
And like Jen said, if you drive towards Paju and you're often going along the Han River and then you kind of fork northwards, on the side there, separating you from the river, there's like barbed wire fences and like military kind of huts, and you're kind of a little scared.
Scary, yeah.
And then you realize, well, this is the way it's been for many decades. We can all rest assured.
It's been here like forever for us.
It's just in case, right? Just in case there's an invasion. We've got everything set up kind of there for defense reasons. Thank you for the question, Rao. You got a couple of messages?
Yeah, from Tropic Girl. Very cool to meet the founder of the museum, Jen. A great memory and experience. Yeah, he really made my day, actually. If it wasn't for his explanation, things could have been very different, to be honest. Because just by looking at the stones and gemstones, because I had almost zero knowledge about the minerals. But again, it was a great chance. And you have to know there are so many artists living in the village. This is not just a place where they just come and open the shop and go back their home, but This is the village founded by a group of, in fact, publishers of the book.
Was
Back
that the
in
original
1997 during the
Uh-huh.
IMF crisis time.
Okay.
For your information, it is the International, Monetary Fund organization, but it was the time when Korea went through the economic crisis. And back then, a group of publishers, they thought maybe they should build a book village in Paju City.
So that's originally what it was. Not just art,
That is the very
but books.
start. Yeah, the book village. And then the original name was 서화촌. And they
I've
thought
never heard that.
yeah, me too. It sounds very local and traditional, but they thought maybe they wanted to have more of a international, global vibe in it. And they came up with the name heyri, which
What is heyri?
heyri is from the folk song heyri 소리.
Is that a famous one?
Not
Not
so.
famous as Arirang,
But
right?
for Korean, it's quite common to hear a lot of something 소리. 소리 means sound.
Okie dokie.
But here it's more close to songs. So the sound of like a lot of things. 뱃놀이 소리 or the 소리 when you do the harvesting. There's so many 소리s or songs.
Linked to like tradition,
Right.
maybe farming.
And Haiti is one of that. And they thought that maybe this can go well with the village vibe because we use a lot of the syllable li in the very end of the name of the village.
Yes, you're right. It does
Yeah.
have a village vibe to it. And Hailey, I don't know, in Korean at least, it looks and sounds like lovely. I don't know. It just has a nice vibe
Beautiful
to it,
sound,
right?
isn't it?
Doesn't sound hard or anything like that. Siska's saying, wait, there was no cola museum when I was there in Hailey. Is that new? Or maybe I just missed it. I think you could have just missed it because Hailey has all these winding streets and intersections to see it all, even though it's not massive. I think would take you a bit of time. You might have just missed it.
Yeah, I've been there like 12 years ago, and I'm seeing much more diverse museums, and Coca-Cola is one of that.
Oh, nice stuff. And Steve got in touch from San Francisco.
Yeah, what an impressive gemstone collection. That Coke store seems bigger than the one I saw in Las Vegas.
Wow.
I don't think so.
But you just showed us the store, right? There's a museum as well there, separate.
In the basement area, so you have to go down the stairs to actually see the collection of probably the history of Coca-Cola company and so on.
You know, it has, I don't know, for me, when I used to come as a little kid, I remember in Korea, they're still using the glass bottles in the 80s and 90s, you know, where you pop open the cap and then you pour out the glass bottles. And you still can get glass bottles at certain restaurants. And I don't know, I feel it tastes better. Like if it comes out of a glass bottle for some reason. That's the history behind it. It does have a lot of affectionate fans here in Korea, despite obviously it's not traditionally Korean cola or anything like that. And yeah, just a word on that mineral museum that I found interesting. When they were showing the human body, we were talking in the song break, Jen, you said that that's kind of linked to the energy that what we say in Korean is ki. Ki, that, what's it called in English? Is it aura or something
Energy,
like that?
maybe?
Maybe there's a term for it in like alternative medicine circles, but the gemstones are meant to help with that energy like distribution and stuff like that.
And in fact, it was also interesting to hear that these days there are more like believers or people who study about that part in Western countries. We're seeing more and more interest growing in the Western countries.
Yeah, I think Oriental medicine for a long time was kind of really ignored and people thought it's useless, but it grew here through thousands of years, you know, influence from China, Korea, Japan, wherever. There must be something useful in there, right? If it's not all scientific, fair enough, but I think we should study it at least to find out, right? We're going to get to video number 2, Jen. Where are you taking us here?
Yeah. So the museum of like Coca-Cola, as one of our listeners just said, is relatively new thing. But what I'm about to show you in part 2 is probably the one that started from the beginning, which is the Museum of Modern History of Korea.
Oh, okay. Let's take a look. Doesn't look like a museum at all. It's very
This
random.
is the entrance part, and this is where you get the ticketing. It's a ticketing box.
It looks like maybe like
And if you
70s,
look-
80s vibe.
Yeah, exactly. From 80s, 70s. These are the snacks
You got
that
old
my
school.
parent generation used to enjoy
Is
a
that
lot.
달고나?
This is from what you seen from the 달고나, the K-drama.
Squid Game.
And this is the overall looking, the vibe of the museum.
Oh, is it like miniature little exhibitions?
Yeah.
Wow, I love
you
it.
can actually, you feel like you're actually in that time.
Yeah,
You
looking
go
down at the
through
characters.
the streets, the stairs,
The
with the walls
posters, the
beside you with the
signs.
posters.
Wow.
And here and there you're seeing, this is the Korean tabang, by the way, the tea house.
Oh, from back in the day.
Yeah.
What is this?
This is 전당포, a pawn shop.
Oh, a pawn shop. Wow.
And on your way, you can see the 새우젓, the salted shrimp seller,
Oh,
sitting there. And this is the school, how it looked back
and the
in
playground
70s.
games that they used to play.
Yeah, and the
Oh.
barber shop.
Wow, this is amazing details, isn't it?
It is.
Is that a miniature as well?
It's a bit more smaller than the usual human size, but not
Okay.
so small.
Oh, these are like bigger, almost
Yeah.
life-size models. Wow.
And you're seeing 개조심, beware of the dogs. And ordinary house from modern 70s era.
A glimpse into
A Korean
it.
mother scolding her child to study better.
Well, that could be this year as well, couldn't it? It could be any time. Wow,
true.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That modern history. So you're not talking about the Joseon dynasty or anything like that. You're talking about the 60s, maybe 70s, 80s.
Right. Even myself, there are things that I get to recall my memory from 90s.
We're revealing our age here, Jen, aren't we? No, but you're right. I can see many things that I'm sure Koreans would find nostalgic, right? Going
Yeah.
there.
And you know, what I really love about this museum is you don't just see things, stuffs across like the, what is it, glass wall.
No.
But you can actually feel it. You can seek into the building.
There's no barrier
And-
there,
yeah,
right? And in
you
some
can go
cases,
in there.
you're just walking straight past it. It looks amazing. Ziska says, oh, this museum is actually from Hansol's Vlog, who's a famous Korean YouTuber in Indonesia, I believe. But you say you didn't go there last time. I will. I love this kind. Yeah, it looks like it's a bit cramped, but that
Yeah.
also adds to the attraction of it. I think it was quite cramped maybe in the 70s and 80s with people all living together close to one another.
Right. And it's so amazing how they cramp all those in a little building. It's
Not
all
a-
inside a building.
Not a big building
It's
museum,
not so
right?
big. As
No.
you can see from the entrance, that is the whole size of the building.
And was that underground as well, like B1
Yeah.
and stuff that you're walking down to?
right?
Wow, an
I
interesting
think
vibe.
most of the studios or the museums in Haiti Village has that similar structure.
Ah.
Like you've just seen from the Gemstone Museum and the Coca-Cola Museum, you have to go down
Underground.
to see the main area.
That's interesting, isn't it? A lot of stuff in Korea is underground, to be honest, compared to the UK, where it's not common to find too many basements and cellars. We've got this song next, and we'll talk a bit more about Haiti. Whatever this brings to mind for you guys, do you have an arty kind of village where you live? Do you have interesting museums or maybe interesting brand shops like the cola one from earlier? Send in your photos and videos via Kakao Talk. Our username there is Daily K, and we'll show those in part 3 of K Patch, where we've dispatched Jen this week to the Heyri Art Village over in Paju. We've seen a couple of her videos already, and we've got lots more messages to read out here. Miss Braddock is saying, I'd love to visit the museums Jennifer has shown today, especially the gemstone one. I love history, and I love looking at collections.
Yeah.
This is the place to go, right? Because like you said, there's just so many of these kind of little museums. They're not like a grand scale or anything.
And in fact, the Professor Kwon said that there's much more higher interest about the gemstones outside of Korea. And I can see that from our listeners as well.
Their response, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't, still Hanyak, the Oriental or East Asian medicine is fairly big here, but I don't know about gemstones and healing and things like
right?
this. I've seen that a lot, I think, in America, where some people, believe in their properties. So maybe they'll wear a necklace with a gemstone or a bracelet and it'll give them some kind of peace. I guess if psychologically it helps, whether it's scientific or not, that's a good thing, right? Yeah, as long as it gives you some kind of comfort or peace, right? You got some messages over there as well, Jen?
Yeah, from Steve. The miniatures museum looks so realistic. It reminds me of a similar museum I saw in the Singapore Chinatown.
Oh,
I
I'd
wonder
love
how
to
it
go.
looks like there.
Yeah. The miniatures, you're right. If you were in there alone at night, I think you'd be freaked out.
I thought about that,
Right?
you know?
That
'Cause
wouldn't
it's
be
so
fun.
real.
And there could be like someone actually just pretending to be a miniature
move.
waiting for you, right? And Jen and I were talking in the song break, and I was saying my mum would hate it there because it looks a bit claustrophobic, especially the basement level with no windows.
And the
you-
smell, by the way.
Oh, really?
Some people wouldn't like that.
Why?
That 옛날 냄새, like the scent from the past,
yeah, I
from
know what
old books.
I know what you mean, because in the 80s, Korea smelt very different to today. Whenever I came to travel, I loved it because I love Korea, but you could smell more like raw sewage back then. You could also smell a lot of the naphthalin, like the
yes.
mothballs and stuff. I love that because I've got nostalgia, but I think many people wouldn't like that. And you mentioned your parents.
Yeah.
They don't want to visit again.
Yeah, so when I was walking, strolling down the streets and the stairs, I was so curious what their impression would be like to see the schools and the barber shop, because
From
they
their
were
past, right?
they're born in the 50s, so it was. They were in their 20s during the 70s. And after we saw that, what they told me was it's just their personal opinion. But, they shared how difficult time it was once again. Like, for me, I'm born in almost like 1990.
Yeah.
And for me, it's more like a old time story. It's like,
Sure.
oh, we used to be just like this. But they shared how there were so many beggars right after the Korean War. It was an ordinary thing. Most people were having hard time eating every 3 meals a day.
Yeah, it was one of the, if not the poorest country on earth.
In fact, the poorest.
Yeah.
The poorest country.
Which is unbelievable.
world.
That's why this rapid development has never been seen before. Korea is kind of an experiment to see how you can adjust in such a short time.
Yeah.
And I heard that some countries have developed rapidly, but they didn't have democracy, whereas some had democracy, but not the rapid development. Korea has had both, which is quite unbelievable. We do have some photos from our listeners as well. Siska has got in touch, who went to Haiti and has sent in her photos here. Let's take a look at these on the screen. What's going on here?
Oh, wow.
It's-
She's in between the 못난이, the very famous character.
Oh, is it? I've never seen that character.
못난이.
못난이 meaning like
Yeah.
an ugly
못난이
person.
literally means ugly, but here it has more cute, sweet
Oh, wow.
vibe.
Wait, and there's a whole 못난이 museum dedicated to this character, I'm
Yeah.
guessing. Oh, wow. And then some other photos in front of these kind of buildings I remember from
I'm
Haiti.
seeing a lot of Spider-Man here, right?
It is a bit random, isn't it? Considering how
I
popular he is these days.
I did not notice
But-
the Spider-Man there.
That kind of grey, bare concrete, I feel there's a lot of buildings like that in
Yeah.
Haiti that look kind of cool, deconstructed, etc. Next one is the bending down, bowing statue man. I see that in lots of places in Korea. I believe it's a Korean artist, if I remember correctly, who designed that sculpture. And then you in a restaurant cafe there. And then the last one with an actual artist who's painted you guys. Oh, that's cute, isn't it?
Again, what I really love about this village is you can easily find the artists themselves. Even when I was the painting the cup, which you will about to see next week, I saw the
Oh.
artists there as well
Oh,
and get some
nice.
explanation, their experience, their feelings.
That's really good, isn't it? We've got some photos from Sherry, I believe. Sherry is from Columbus, Ohio, and you've sent in some photos of the Ohio History Center Museum, which has an actual nostalgic village that you can visit. Oh, wow, this is like
Nice.
proper life-size buildings and stuff. Wow, the scale is huge. And then people actually dress up in this attire. Actual people, it looks like, are walking around. Or are those figures? Am I mistaken? And then it's a whole village. That's massive, isn't
Ohio
it?
Village.
You can just feel how big America
Interesting.
is, right?
Yeah.
A museum is a village, whereas in Haiti, it's one little building. And then it does look like you're in the past, like maybe 100 years ago.
Interesting.
Wow.
It's so huge, isn't it?
And then even like an old steam engine powered, is that a car? Is that what they used to look like? I wonder. That's amazing.
Beautiful red wheels.
Thank you so much for sending that in. Is there if my memory's serving me right, I swear there's some kind of vehicle-related museum in Heyri. Probably one of them must be related to cars or trains or something. Silver Granny also got in touch from North Carolina saying some scenes from the River Arts District in Asheville, where our local artists and unique restaurants can be found along a stretch of the Broad River that used to house warehouses that had long ago fallen into disrepair. Unfortunately, your photos haven't come through yet, Silver Granny, but thank you for your descriptions there.
Thank you.
Lots of you really enjoying this museum vibe today. Like you said, Jen, next week we're going to continue on with Heyri Art Village and your hands-on kind of experiences there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'll bring the cup.
That sounds amazing. Miss Bradica says, mothballs, my mum still buys them once in a while. I think some older people in Korea still use like naptalin, the mothballs, right? You can still find them here. Yeah, that smell. Sometimes in the toilet.
Usually, yeah, that's my experience.
In
when you eat outside.
Yeah, and then you go to the urinals, right? It kind of smells like that. Sherry also saying that's very neat about those Korean accomplishments in that short time. And I guess if you go to the museum, if you go with your parents or grandparents, I think that's what makes it amazing because they'll give you the real history and maybe tell you things that are difficult to hear, like it was a really tricky past and things like that, right?
Yeah, again, you know, this village is a perfect dating spot. In fact, you can see a lot of couples. There weren't many seniors or kids. But, you know, it's been like over a decade since I've been there for the first time, and I'm seeing a lot of great food places and some studios where kids can experience, you can experience.
Fantastic things to see and do. You won't run out of things to do, we promise you. Tropic Girl says, it's so cool. I feel like I'm actually back in time. Jen being so humble. It's great when you connect with people who can teach us something new. If you meet the right person at an art museum or just a museum in general, then they can give you that background info, right? That's so cool. Jen, thank you so much for your videos as usual. Have a wonderful weekend and stay as dry as you can.
I'll try.